I'm gonna turn everything over to Denise now as we have our next guest that is time to bring on. Denise, you want to take it away?
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica. And I would like to now call up the White House doc. Dr. Antoine Chevalier, are you there?
Yes, hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you? So, Dr. Antoine, thank you for joining us.
Virtual hug, Jessica, yes.
So we're going from the digestive tract to the brain.
The brain.
However, there's method to this madness. I would like the audience to know the gut is the second brain. I repeat, the gut is the second brain. So when we're looking at professional athletes in particular, Marvin, you know this. Marvin Washington is a Super Bowl champion who's taken many, many collisions on the field. So for professional athletes,
and
go ahead, Jeff.
It's too with the martial arts, all the kicks and hits and punches. Too. You know, life.
Oh, totally. So when you get kicked in the gut, we don't realize it, but it affects your brain. So this is why boosting your immunity, boosting your natural fortitude is so important. And Dr. Antoine's lane is correcting brain injury. And it is entirely possible. If you go to his website, thewhitehousedoc.com, you'll be able to see some testimonials from some very prominent people in professional athletics as well as in the veterans community. So, Dr. Antoine, I'd like, if you have it available, I don't know if you have it readily available, you were just given a major award for your community service with helping veterans, homeless veterans, overcome suicidal ideation.
I do. I'm going to bring the award right now.
Oh, fantastic. And what Dr. Antoine has done is he has donated his time. He's been with multiple administrations at the White House, I think 3 administrations over the last almost 20 years. There it is.
There it is. That would be the award. I don't know if you can see. It's the National Society of the Sons of American Revolution, and they gave me the bronze Good Citizenship Medal. And there's the medal there.
That's fantastic.
So,
I think the last time they awarded this type of an award was to a Supreme Court justice.
Right, the gold. Yeah, the gold one, they gave it to Anthony Scalia, the ex-Supreme Court justice. Yeah. Thank you.
Incredible. So thank you so much for your dedication. You've been offering free services to the veterans community to overcome traumatic brain injury and the downward spiral that leads to suicidal ideation. So that's why we're talking about overcoming opioid addiction. And you're presenting part 1, which is the psychology of addiction. And if you'd like, I can go ahead and share the PowerPoint presentation with the audience.
Yes,
okay,
please.
I will do that right now. So let me do this.
There you go.
Okay, so Dr. Antoine Chevalier, as I mentioned, has more than 19 years as a holistic practitioner within the White House, the executive office, and he's worked with professional athletes, with the community, with veterans to overcome brain injury. And what he's seen is this downward spiral when it comes to opioid addiction. And it starts with prescriptions, and when people reach that point of saturation and they need something stronger, sadly, people are turning to street drugs, to help manage the symptoms that they are experiencing. And Dr. Chevalier, I'm going to turn it over to you. Please let me know when you'd like me to forward through the slides, and we will explain with your expertise the psychology of addiction.
Thank you. So let's just start by the fundamentals. How does it start? Who does it affect? And the medicine, what I call medicine cabinets and the street drugs. The statistics out there is 100 people die every day. Next. Once they start, you can fall into that negative cycle due to concussion. When people have concussion, it's a shock in the brain. It changes the brain chemistry. And people usually do whatever they can to maintain their equilibrium inside, and they usually take drugs and become very dependent. So concussion is definitely one of them. Traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder. We're going to talk also of this opioid addiction, depression, and suicidal ideation. You're going to be able to see how everything is connected to one another. Next slide. Thank you. We do have brain injury protocols that have long-lasting results. We have now over 2,000 testimonials, and we're going to do research and publish it with 200 subjects. So it could be veterans and professional athletes, NFL players, mixed martial artists, hockey players. So we have some of these videos on the website. This is what you are seeing right now. The goal is to end suicide, and I believe in our generation we can achieve that goal. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Is that the right one?
Okay, yeah, perhaps it's not. So we're going to have you talk through the presentation.
Sure, that's fine. So what we observed, my focus was suicide, and I have a personal story on this. So if you're more interested on this, we can go back to this later. But why do people want to commit suicide? And I realized that there is two major sources. There is a physical component, a physical root cause of suicide, and there is a more like a psychological, emotional, mental root cause of suicide. The physical is head injury. And working for the executive office of the president, I did work for Secret Service people. And some of them would come to me for treatment, and some of them had severe traumatic brain injury and concussion. And they would share with me and what's happening to them. And I started seeing patterns. And I did more research and realized that basic physics, if you have a shock, if you have even a car accident, or you get hit in the head, or you get any form of traumatic brain injury, it's a vibration, and it basically goes through the skull, and the vibration continues and goes through your head. Your brain is mostly fat, water, and electrical current. It's more complicated than that, but that's the bulk of it. And you have neural pathways within the brain. When you have this shock vibration going through the brain, it freezes the brain inside. So the neural plasticity and connectivity decreases. And because of that, people fall into major depression disorder. They have uncontrollable mood swings. So they sometimes cry, they sometimes laugh, they don't even know, out of the blue. And if they're not being treated, it goes further down this path of self-destruction, and they become suicidal. They also have a tendency to abuse, I would say, mind-altering substances, such as fentanyl, opioid, but other drugs, alcohol, etc. Whatever they can grab, whatever they have access to, they will. The tendency is usually they start using it, they become dependent. So the relationship between the consumer and the drug is a codependency relationship. It becomes your best friend, or it becomes that product will give you the mental, emotional, physical state of peace that you need internally, that you can't without the substance. And as the brain is adjusting to the level of dosage of the amount that you are taking, it becomes not enough to reach the same level of peace inside. So you basically end up using more and more and more, and the side effects is catching up with you. Opioid addiction in this country is a real issue. It's a lot of us say in our industry, it's number one. It's really considered the number one. We have 70,000 people dead every year because of it. But it's the other statistics. That's why also I'm focusing on veterans, and we have 22 to 24 veterans a day who are committing suicide, and that became really my priority when I started my nonprofit. So when I started to see those patterns, shock in the head, a little bit after, let's say 6 months, they start having major depression disorder, drug addiction, and suicidal ideation. Started doing more research, and sure enough, there is enough research out there. If you have this mindset, or if you have this intention of connecting dots at that level, there is enough research to corroborate those neuroassociations between those different medical conditions. So I took upon myself to come up with the best functional medicine protocols to really treat people there at the executive office of the president, and I did. It's a combination of different treatment with different modalities, and one of them is CBD nano water. And cannabinoid is extremely important in the protocol to achieve the results that we are very famous for. The cannabinoid research right now is enough, and it shows tremendous amount of, I would say, confidence in treating concussion and traumatic brain injury by itself. And we just add other modalities on top of that. So that's one aspect. The other aspect for suicide is trauma, whether it's psychological trauma, so mental trauma, emotional trauma. We're usually talking sexual abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, and that category has a more invisible impact on the brain, but it's much harder scientifically to correlate those two. However, in my practice, it's pretty much undeniable. There is a direct connection between the two. So the research is to establish really scientifically those connections and to be able to publish it. So that becomes a body of literature. We are part of a research, and it would be, leading other researchers to focus more on certain areas, but we need this baseline where we have 200 subjects where we can literally scan their brain and have different variables that we can measure a baseline of where they are before the session. And some really hardcore scientific data from functional MRI, for example, that it's almost impossible to argue against. But we're also going to have psychological, psychiatric questions and questionnaire and test assessment, etc. We have other machines that we're going to be able to use in order to create the baseline assessment of where the patient is before the treatment. After the treatment, we apply the same scientific machines, scientific devices to measure where the patient is. And that way, we'll be able to measure scientifically what happened and the real impact of the sessions in the brain. And we're going to be able to monitor the patient after. how do they successfully reintegrate in society, emotional state, mental state, physical state, etc. Are they functional again, etc. Which we have been seeing now for quite a while, where we literally take a homeless veteran who suffer from PTSD, drug addiction, major depression disorder, suicidal ideation, concussion, traumatic brain injury, and chronic pain. And it takes usually 15 to 22 hours of treatment. And it's gone. It stays, the results are long lasting. Give them about 2 to 3 weeks to integrate the results, to integrate the change. Then we, before COVID-19, we basically would give them an application for a job. They would fill up the application, and then they are able to keep the job because they are mentally and physically functional again. So you would see a homeless, suicidal, drug addict, PTSD veteran successfully transition into a productive member of society. And that is just wonderful. So we, instead of being anecdotal and just, even though we have enough, we have a lot of case studies now, we have a lot of video testimonials, we just want to go to the next level and apply the scientific method for this kind of social impact. The two populations, of course, are veterans, homeless veterans, and concussion NFL players. And we also want to take it after that. We also are focusing on sex trafficking survivors and also criminals, which is interesting enough to share here that every single criminal that I treated have been sexually abused before the age of 7. So that's another topic that we would love to focus on after we are done with the homeless veterans. It's needless to say that we do not understand. There's a lot that we don't understand on the psychology of addiction, the psychology of opioid addiction. We also know that fentanyl and all of these different synthetic drugs that now people have access to are a lot cheaper, so it makes it a lot difficult to control, but we still, the problem is so big, it can be a little bit overwhelming. However, we do have a lot of cannabinoid research, a lot of papers, there's a lot of good positive sign. We just want to carry on and really go to the next level and make it like a permanent progress with a scientific paper that it's going to be bulletproof, that we'll be able to really set our foot on it and go to the next step. Really, the goal is social impact, and it could be an ambitious goal, but I'm convinced in our generation, if we actually get it together, we could see the end of homelessness and suicidal ideation in our country. And if we go focusing on veterans, that's really my goal. No veterans in the streets anymore. I think it's possible, definitely possible in our lifetime to see that. Otherwise, we can ask questions. I'm really good at question answers too, so I'm sure some people have some good questions out there. Hello?
He's there.
Okay.
You're there still.
Good. So does anyone have a question on whatever you want?
So we're going to take some questions. So we have
Yeah, so someone who's not a vet, yeah, of course it works. I just saw the question. So yeah, of course, we treat people who are not veterans, of course. If, we have people who have car accidents, like I said before, we have people from so many different, ways of life, and there is no discrimination at all. The only requirement is for the patient to really want to be free from whatever they are suffering from. That's the only requirement. That's the only requirement. And the other thing also I would add is the protocols are customized. Like Dr. Ted Emmanuel was saying, yeah, everybody is different. Everybody is different. And even I have a machine that will scan you, and basically I will have a 172-page report about your health on the digital homeopathic frequencies. Yeah. So it will scan you, and I will have everything basically that is out of balance frequency-wise about your health. You're gonna like that, Ted. And so then the machine will propose a balancing item, which is a digital homeopathic frequency. And that digital homeopathic frequency can be imprinted into the CBD nano water. And so with that kind of technology, it's really, really good. And of course, there's no side effects, and it gets the job done. So, but everybody is treated. I mean, I have, hi, Dr. Golda. So good to see you. Yeah, we have many, many, many medical conditions and many people. And also, and Dr. Ted Emmanuel is going to love this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healer. I'm an assistant. I don't have the authority to heal you at all. You have the authority to heal you. What I can do, I can assist you so I don't cure, I don't heal, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not a healer. I'm just an assistant. That's why the name of the company is You Are the Cure. Not me, but you are the cure. And that's the truth.
I like that.
Good.
Wow, wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Antoine.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Such an honor.
I mean, we loved it. It's been fantastic from day one. Thank you. I'm looking to see if there are any other questions. And
I got a question.
Oh.
On his biofeedback machine,
yeah.
What do we do? Do we just go ahead and send you some blood and you run that? Or do you have to be in person? Or how does that work?
I need the first name, last name, date of birth, physical address, and a picture. And that's it.
Yeah, I like that. I like
that. Okay.
I've got to connect with you, Doc, somewhere or another, because I see us doing a lot of help.
Yeah.
Assisting the world.
Yeah, no, I was listening to your presentation. I'm like, yes.
Right. We don't care. We're not in the curing business. We're just good at what.
Hey,
exactly.
Guess who else is here with us?
Hey, Doc, how you doing?
Good, and you? How are you?
Fantastic. I saw the cooking. Well, in the baking, you were cooking the baking.
He's talking to you.
I saw him.
How you doing, buddy?
And
Chef.
Hey, Dr. Ted. How you doing, buddy?
I'm saying hello to you. I saw you in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I wasn't baking, buddy. I was just testing. There's always got to be the quality control. That's me.
Okay.
So Matt has a question from Europe for Dr. Chevalier.
How are you?
Hi, I'm great. I just got disconnected here, so here we go. I have a few patients that are both martial artists and have PTSD on top of it. Is there a possibility to get them into treatment as well?
Yes, for sure. I mean, one of my star patients is Daniel Puder, is a MMA undefeated champion, and he's one of my ambassadors. I mean, the guy just loves it. He had multiple concussion. I had, MMA fighters, absolutely. It works extremely well, especially if you have someone who has tremors,
It's good that she doesn't. She's very active right now, but she has some PTSD and barely doesn't sleep at night.
Okay, then okay, great. No, that would work. Yeah, she would be able to sleep. Yeah.
Also,
Perfect.
does that answer your question, Matt?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Millie.
Fantastic. And we have one more question here for you, Dr. Antoine, before we move on to our next special guest for today. The question is, what do you think the role of genomics in addiction and cannabis treatment? What do you think of the role of genomics in addiction and cannabis treatment?
Yeah, it's promising. It's one of the things, we need more research. I'm always more on the cautious side, I like research, okay? So, but because you want to be side effect free, you want to understand what the consequences are, you want to be able to fully really understand, as much as possible. And then you, as a practitioner, you take some risk, but the risk has to be minimized. So if you I would love to see more research. That's all.
Fantastic.
And that segues fantastically into one of the presentations this afternoon by Jade Health. So, audience,
Yes.
Stay with us. You will get your questions answered from genomics experts.